In today's episode, I'm with a very interesting guest here today. I'm with Nikole Rose, and she's the president and COO of Mojo Media Labs. And Mojo Media is supporting companies to actually get a handle on, all things marketing automation, growth programs, and you have it. And we're today going to be really diving deep into what that actually means, like how the companies are being supported, which types of companies are being supported, and maybe you can take a bit of piece here and there to learn what Nikole has been learning with her team along the way. So, Nikole, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. I appreciate it.
Very good. So, maybe give us that 360 overview. What is Mojo Media all about?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So Mojo Media Labs is a digital agency. We really focus on helping B2B companies implement the right strategy, messaging, technology, and processes to be able to scale. We're a Hubspot Diamond agency partner. Hubspot is a leading marketing automation platform, but really they've moved strongly into the CRM space. So we're experts in that, as well as inbound and account-based marketing strategies. So that's what we do. Why we do it, however, our mission is to help you grow smarter. So when our clients come to us, there's typically a lot of kind of overwhelm in how to go to market to be able to grow. So we help our clients to, in essence, implement strategies that really do help them grow smarter. At the heart of who Mojo is, however, is what I think is really important. What I love to talk a lot about, which is our culture. So we strongly believe that the formula is simple, however, not easy, that happy people equals happy clients. So we have spent many years at Mojo really creating an amazing foundation for our culture that's very quantifiable. We do have awards that back it up, but what's important to me is that it's real, authentic, and very accountable. So we have had the pleasure of being able to be named a Forbes small giant, which there are 25 companies each year that Forbes names as a small giant, which in essence means that you are more focused on being a great company and not just big. We've been awarded Inc.'s best places to work in America, and several other types of awards. So very, very happy about that. I'm super passionate about it. So that tells you a little bit about Mojo.
Very cool. Maybe one quick follow-up questions immediately on that. Like, obviously, culture, as you said, is the foundation for performance, anyways. But what is maybe something that you've been learning? What is so important to set the foundations for culture that maybe you see other people maybe not being so aware about, or that it's being overlooked a little bit, or what surprised yourself in building up that culture?
A great question, and I would love to answer that. So many years ago now, thankfully, I'd say probably 7 years ago at this point, my husband and I, who we run the business together, looked at each other and realized this is not the culture that we want. And what dawned on us is that culture happens one way or the other, right? And the problem was we had not created an intentional culture. So we got to work studying to figure out, well, how do you create an intentional culture? And we really started with core values, and we created 6 core values. They still are in existence today, and we hire by them. I mean, we talk about them constantly. They're not just something on the wall. Everybody in our company knows them inside and out. We celebrate people for success around our core values. We obviously also have to have hard conversations and periodically remove based on not living those as well. So that was really our foundation to create that culture, right? For us, it wasn't about the ping pong tables and the beer and the get-togethers. Although, don't get me wrong, those are fun, and we obviously like to have fun. But since then, we've also really found that we bookended our core values with 2 different rituals that are really important and have made huge impact in our culture. And one is what's called a results-only work environment. What that means is that within our culture, our team members can work when they want, where they want, how they want, as long as they are meeting their results and getting their work done. We believe that work is what you do. It's not a place that you go. So it's not so important to us. Ironically, we actually have 2 physical offices. We've got one in Dallas and one in Indianapolis. but they're used more as a tool, and nobody is actually forced to go. So it really creates a lot of accountability, within the teams, to be able to have this freedom of time and be able to, get your time back. People don't have to ask to go places and do things, right? We treat them as adults, and they get to do things that they need to take care of. But on the flip side too, we practice what's called open book management. And what that is complete financial transparency into the business. So our team, literally every Monday morning, comes together and at 11 a.m. and in essence build the profit and loss together. What's really interesting about this is we're not just sharing the numbers. The team is actually, like, each person is owning a line item on the profit and loss statement. And they are forecasting, how much revenue we're going to get in this line item, or what the expense is going to be for this particular month. And we all have our goal is to get to a certain, profit number. And as we meet those goals, the team then is sharing in a profit distribution program. So, they have a stake in the outcome, just like an entrepreneur would as well. So it's a great way to balance out just having, the quantifiable with, with more the non-quantifiable, if you will. So that's how we've created this culture at Mojo.
So interesting. That makes kind of everybody, independent of whether they work with clients directly or in sales, kind of, in a way responsible for profit in the end, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. At the end of the day, that we believe that people will come to work and they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and really contribute to more than just the work that they do in their job. What's really cool is that when people come into Mojo, they really don't understand how businesses make or lose money, and we teach them that. We teach them transparent, financial literacy. So many people have taken that into their personal life to be able to, better manage, their income, expenses, and things like that. But everybody has the ability to impact the financials. And I mean, I won't go on about it right now, but I could tell just hundreds and hundreds of stories, little things to big things, of ways that, every team member, no matter their role, has provided impact in a positive way, for that. So.
Very cool. Obviously, like a strong set of values and a strong culture will, give a positive impact on the clients, right? In the end. So,
That's right.
What would be the types of clients that you're working with? Like, what would be sort of the companies that are, benefiting most from working with Mojo?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work primarily with B2B companies. We have concentrations in the area of technology. Over half of our clients are in the technology space, so SaaS primarily. And then healthcare and professional services are kind of our other big, verticals that we work with. But what's more important than the industries is the fact that they are have a desire to grow. So typically we are working with clients who have experienced some type of high growth and really need to put some strategies in place to allow them to scale. So that's usually the types of clients that we work with. Typically revenues start at 10 million to several hundred million. But really it's more just the dynamics of they know that they need to implement new, more modern strategies. And they need to get away from their random acts of marketing that they've been doing, and need help in kind of putting all of that together.
Very good. Companies like yours, right? Obviously, who would be raising the hands? Is that like a CMO that says, I need support? Is that like a business owner that says, we really need an extra force? Like who's typically raising the hand?
Yeah, so typically it's going to be the leader in the marketing department is what we have found. However, we usually try to get leadership, top down. So it's very important that the leadership is on board, where it comes to business development and just revenue growth in general, right? Because it's not just about marketing generating leads, as or website visits or anything of that. So it's so important to get buy-in from leadership, marketing, and then sales. So we really try to bring those groups together. But typically it's the marketing team, the marketing leaders who are coming to us saying, we need help. We need to figure out how to implement the right technology. We're not sure, how it all should work together and the processes and what types of campaigns should we run and how do we, do this, that, and the other. So
very cool. That brings me to a question though, which is quite interesting, always in the podcast, which is, how would you describe the journey of somebody who's getting to know about Mojo? Or in other words, like what would be sort of the client acquisition channels that you guys are leveraging in order
sure.
to, grow?
Yeah, absolutely. So our three top channels for how initially a client comes to us, and so the top two channels in terms of percentages are a tie between our own marketing efforts, our own demand generation efforts. So we do drink our own Kool-Aid, in that regard. We've from a visitation perspective, we're at about 80,000 visits a month for a digital agency. That's pretty good. And we really work not just on our visits, but the quality of opportunities for someone to really engage with our website and learn and feel comfortable to raise their hand, ultimately to want to talk to us. So that's our number one channel. And then our number two channel is referrals, but it's not just word of mouth and it's not coming just from the owners. The majority of our referrals actually come from our technology partners. So as I mentioned, we're a HubSpot Diamond partner, but we also do work with many other technologies within the account-based marketing space, such as ABM platforms such as Terminus or Demandbase and Sixth Sense. And so we actually get a lot of great referrals and lead flow from sales reps, from those that are trying to close deals with companies, but that they know that for the client to sign on, they're going to need support from an agency to help them implement. So we have an awful lot of our good lead flow coming, from that referral channel, from our clients, and then people who have maybe leave one company, go to another, have had a good experience and come back. And then followed lastly by partner directories. And so again, kind of our technology partners, we're listed on, for example, as a HubSpot agency partner. And also we are a certified StoryBrand partner. And so we do get lead flow from those as well. When someone does want to talk to us, the first step in our process is what we just call a connection meeting. And, that's a quick 30-minute meeting to just, talk about and figure out if it's a good fit. That's the most important thing to us. We're very hyper diligent to make sure that we're bringing on great fit clients, because obviously we want to have really great success in client services and be able to live up to promises and expectations so that we can, retain and create raving fans.
I think it's quite interesting actually that you were, bringing up the fact that you actually are driving a lot of traffic to the page. Very often, we would hear sort of the idea of the cobbler's shoes, which doesn't hold true in your case. So that's very cool to hear. I would be curious. Marketers that we have on the show are typically very critical about their own website, and I'm sure somebody who's on that level, like you guys, is no different. Like, where do you see sort of the strength of the current page versus where do you see maybe that next level of improvement where you want to bring the page?
So interesting question, and I say that because we have created a very strong website theme for the HubSpot marketplace that we just launched a few months ago. HubSpot just got rid of templates and things like that. So we've created this very robust theme. That is what MojoMediaLabs.com is built on. And you can see when you go to the website, I'm actually really thrilled with the website and have not always said that. So I head our marketing and sales. I'm very picky over those types of things. But the design, I think, is wonderful. I think the user experience is really positive. I'm very pleased with the content. There are tweaks here and there that I think that we could make, but I think we're on the right track with our own website. And what's really cool though is having this theme and this platform. We can leverage that for our high growth companies, for our B2B clients who are coming to us. So we're able to get an amazing looking website that performs very well from an SEO perspective. All within 2 months, that you would typically pay over 6 figures for, you're going to pay significantly less, with us. So again, with our clients, like everything has to be speed in mind. So we always think about that it's not even so much the budget, but they just need to get something better to market. So our website and our theme is designed all around optimization to include, SEO and conversion, and so forth. So I'm
Oh,
actually really
cool.
pleased with it,
Very good. Yeah,
and that's
it's,
saying a
it's
lot.
interesting. Very, very interesting that you actually, build it for the HubSpot CMS, because obviously the wheels are turning. The HubSpot CMS world is emerging quite rapidly at the very moment. It's more opening up the whole system. Like, what are you excited about when it comes to sort of the HubSpot ecosystem moving forward?
Boy, I'll tell you, we I'd like to say it was so strategic, but I think, at this point we were probably but more lucky than, than super smart about it. But we became a HubSpot partner back in 2012. We were actually one of the first agency partners. And one of the biggest reasons that we chose HubSpot was because of their culture.
Mhm.
And we desired to have, we desired to work with companies like that. We thought it was great, but they have come so far, obviously, in 9 years. So what I love now is that uh, specifically the HubSpot CMS, there's really no competition, there's really no options, kind of in that mid-market range. You kind of have WordPress, which um, I'm not a huge fan of. I think it serves maybe, a certain client, fairly well, but there's quite a few issues with WordPress. And then, you've got, much more expensive, heavier CMSs, Adobe, things like that. But there's very few things that are robust within the mid-market space. And obviously with HubSpot, it's not just a great CMS, but you have everything built in, right? So it's all in one platform. And I don't mean to be sounding like a HubSpot sales person. I do not. I do not work for HubSpot. But their product has grown in a really positive way from having a very strong CRM. We find actually salespeople love working in their sales tools in the CRM because they're helpful and easy to use, unlike maybe some other platforms out there. And again, just a great integrated solution. There's a lot of things that I'm not allowed to talk about that are coming, that are coming upon, coming up that will be launched that makes it even more exciting.
Very cool. I'm not gonna push you further on that one since I don't want to put you in the wrong spot here. Very good. With all your experience, right? Maybe doing one step further, looking sort of more at your generic experience in the area of marketing and automation within marketing as well. I would be curious, what have you found to be is the challenge when marketers that you work with try to bring in innovation into their companies, right? Because it's one thing to have the concepts, the idea, and then you have to bring it to the street. Like, what have you been finding is typically the challenges for the guys that you're working with when they want to bring in innovation?
Yeah, so oftentimes I think that companies think if they buy a lot of very expensive technologies and bring them in, that's going to solve their problems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm a huge believer in technology. It's a very important part of marketing, modern marketing and sales today. However, I see many companies buying a bunch of stuff and then they don't use it. It doesn't talk to one another. So we first work with our clients to really get them into that mindset and understand kind of a crawl, walk, run, approach, and integrating technology when it's actually appropriate, and then making sure everything is aligned and talking, and you've got the right people who are using it in the right processes and so forth. So that's one of the biggest kind of issues that I see when companies think innovation. They oftentimes will think, I want to bring new technologies, which again, all for, and I do think it's important for companies to budget appropriately for the right technologies. But sometimes it's just too much too soon.
Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. Last question,
Mm-hmm.
sort of in that area of marketing. We talk a lot about conversion optimization, obviously, in the Pathmark Presents podcast. What have you found to be typically the challenges for teams that get traffic, but just not getting the results yet from the pages that they would want it to? What do you see as the typical challenges they face?
Yeah. Well, first of all, just not enough opportunities to, to even convert, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm always floored by when I see somebody's website, I'm like, well, what do you expect? You expect someone to click on this, like, contact me today, right? And you had mentioned it, and I know this absolutely to be true, that 98% of the traffic that's going to the website they're not ready to buy. They're not ready to, to say, I'd like to talk to a salesperson. They're in research mode. And so, but they want to engage in your website. So what opportunities are available on the website to engage? And I think just, really providing very helpful content, like do a good job on the content. I think some people do the clickbait, and it's, yes, you might click on this thing and get the ebook, and then you're like, what? That was it? I gave my information for that. Don't do that. So, really doing a great job at understanding who you're marketing to. Keep your message simple. That's another thing I see, especially in the B2B marketing or marketplace and technology, is that, if you're an expert at a level 10, I see many companies dumb it down to like a level 8. People buy at a level 1 or a 2, right? And they don't buy the best product, they buy what they understand. So from a conversion rate optimization, like having the right message in a way that is simple and for people to understand is actually a huge part of conversion rate optimization. So that's part of it. We'll always take a look at what opportunities you have on your website for people to engage, right? And to get some helpful content, but then also what is your main message? Are you connecting with people? Because otherwise they're going to bounce. Even if you have a great download that's, a great ebook that's gated.
I think you just coined an awesome quote, which is that they don't buy the best product, but they buy what they understand. I think this will go into marketing history. I think very good. Cool. I have a couple of rapid fire questions from our team to wrap it up. Are you ready for those?
Bring it on.
What's the last book that you read?
Actually, it's the last book, which I highly recommend, is called Oh my gosh, now I'm going to mess up the book. I literally finished it last night. Who, Not How. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. It was by Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. Love that book. And actually, this is on my desk because I'm about ready to start this next. This is so it's called No Forms, No Spams, No Cold Calls. It's written by the founder of Sixth Sense, which is an ABM platform. Mm-hmm. I've heard great things about it, so that's next on my reading list.
Awesome. Very cool. What's the one thing the company is focused on the most at the moment?
What is something that companies in general are focused on the most? Can you expand on that?
Yours. What's the single thing that Mojo is focused on the most at the moment?
So just serving our clients in the best way that we can. One of the biggest challenges of being an agency in this space is just keeping up with the rapid, new strategies and technologies and, ways to do things. So we really experiment a lot, and we experiment a lot on Mojo. We are not afraid to test things, maybe potentially break things. So we do a lot of that and then collaborate with our teams on what's working, and maybe what isn't working so well so that we can implement those things for our clients.
Okay, very cool. If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
If there were no boundaries in technology. Oh man. Boy, I'll tell you, the one thing that drives me crazy is the dark funnel. I mean, just not being able to get the information, that we want. There's so much anymore that's quote unquote kind of hidden. So I'd love to be able to get more, and there are some technologies that are starting to solve for that. But I'd love to be able to, find ways to get not just more data points, but more relevant information on, intent, like why are people doing what they are doing? Who is actually out in market searching for your products and services, to be smarter about how you're working. I'm a huge it drives me crazy to be inefficient. So definitely believe in working smarter, not harder. And I see teams who, implement the same strategies across every account that they might be going after, or, putting the same amount of energy when you might have, prospect A completely top of funnel, like, not even hardly thinking about it, right? And you've got someone else who's almost at decision stage. And those are the people that you want to be able to know they're there. And then, really put a lot of resources around that. So technology, if we could solve for that, that would be awesome.
To wrap it up, the very last question, I want to do a little bit of time travel with you. If we go back to Baylor University and basically you're heading off into the world of marketing, you just finished education, what's the one advice you would give yourself?
Yes. So I would say the one advice I would give for myself is love learning. Whatever it is that you do. I didn't learn that probably for a little bit later in my career. I was probably not the best college student because it felt forced. But boy, I'll tell you, it's even for kids going to college. To me, it's yeah, follow your passions, but just love learning because here's the thing: in a few years from now, the job that you're going to get most likely doesn't exist, right? So being able to problem solve and think critically is so important. And to do that, you've got to love to learn, to be curious, to go out there and just meet people, talk to people, like explore,
Mhm.
the options that are that are available. But don't think of it as a chore. Think of it as a gift that you get to do.
Very good, Nicole. I really appreciate that you took the time with us today and walked us through the world of Mojo. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Mojo today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
Well, okay. Let me explain maybe the name a little bit. So, because I think this is very relevant in today's kind of marketing and what marketers should be, and even sales should be thinking. So, media is the art, labs is the science. And when you bring art and science together, you create a mojo. So how that comes out within today's modern marketing is obviously the data points, the analytics. It's so important to understand the numbers behind what you're doing, but never forgetting about just having amazing creative and telling a great story and really connecting with the human, right, with the person that you're talking about. So bringing those two things together. So create your mojo.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathon Presents, Nicole.
Thanks so much.